As today is the release day for Mississippi Acres Preserve, it's time, as always, for our quick guide for this incredible new map. We'll take a look at what I consider the best loadout, the top hotspots, and the ideal time for a successful hunt. And we'll start with the loadout, which has been a pretty major topic of conversation as of late due to the difficulty of bringing down the gators before they escape to deeper water. I've tried a lot of different combinations, and I've gotta say, the 303 has been the best performing big game rifle for this loadout. I will say though that I've been primarily shooting the gator twice with it, much like I did for the diamond gator we shot on stream last week as it ran past us. Now, I know that can be a difficult shot to make on console, so when making a loadout to cover everything on the map for Xbox and PS4, I would probably choose the muzzleloader. I've taken quite a few gators with it, obviously with just a single shot, and it tends to bring them down quickly enough. I personally prefer the versatility of a larger capacity rifle, but especially when I am banking on getting 2 accurate shots off, I don't think it's quite as viable for controllers, at least not with the limited skill level I have using them. The rest of the loadout is much more straightforward. I've been carrying a shotgun for quail, rabbits, and even turkeys or raccoons to get within range, and for me the 20 gauge semi-automatic shotgun from the Duck and Cover DLC has been the best. I definitely like the 16 gauge from Rancho as well, both are great options there. Finally, I've been carrying the new 22H. It's had its fair share of criticism for being underpowered, and admittedly, it's not exactly a cannon, but it does bring down all Class 1 animals with relative ease, and it's more than capable on the Class 2 Gray Fox if you can get within 100 meters. That leaves room to carry plenty of collars, other equipment, or even a 4th weapon of your choosing. For me, this has worked really well. However, for those that feel the 22H is underpowered, substituting the 22 long rifle and 243 to cover Class 1 and 2 animals will suffice. Now, onto hotspots. The newly added alligators might be the most unique species added to Call of the Wild to date, so I've decided to stray from the norm just a little bit and include one set of hotspots for just the gators, as well as a general hotspot map. We'll quickly look at the gator map first. I consider these locations the top 5 areas for gators on the map, and I think the areas in the far northeast are some of the best, consistently having lots of male gators on the shore or swimming around in the water. Plus, it was this area where we had the diamond gator I referenced earlier. The river along the west side of the map is littered with gators all along. It can just be a little frustrating to hunt them. I would probably just walk it from north to south anytime after 9:30, as they begin to rest and lay on land after that. To simplify it, vital shots are essentially a no-go for gators in the water, and because they never stop moving, hitting the small target of the brain can be extremely tough. It's also worth noting that gators that flee to deep enough water will drown and never float back to you if they bleed out at that depth. To go back to the loadout earlier, that is the reason for taking multiple shots with the 303. The remaining areas in the center of the map and the southwest each tend to be loaded with gators as well, and in my experience I've had an abundance of high scoring ones, so I would definitely give them a look. As for the hotspots for the rest of the map, you'll notice 2 of the areas were also included with the alligator locations. I simply couldn't leave these out as they were so good for gators, and also they tend to have an abundance of other game as well. To go back to the northeast once again, these lakes are also good for whitetail, as well as the occasional raccoon, gray fox, and black bear, not to mention the number of gators here. It is worth noting that gators will spook other game, so hunting these areas can be tricky. We'll continue our way south to the area in the center of the map in the fields. One thing I'm quite excited about with these hotspots is that they aren't all drink zones, and this is a perfect example. In these fields, you'll find tons of raccoons and plenty of fox and quail around. It's a great little area to practice with the brand new 22 Hornet, and speaking of which, not only do the soft point rounds bring down raccoons even with a single poor shot, but it should be mentioned that raccoons, much like turkeys, don't require a vital hit to pass the harvest check. Any hit will work as long as it brings them down. And I wanted to mention that as I spent a lot of time really trying to get a vital hit on our diamond raccoon, and it turns out that was entirely unnecessary. We could have hit it anywhere and brought it down with that new 22 Hornet. Next, we'll head to the field surrounding the lookout point in the western part of the Delta wetlands. It's not often lookout points give such hunting opportunities, but with tons of turkeys and chances to see gray fox and cottontail rabbits in the area, it's worth coming back to and not simply one to just pass through to unlock the map. Once again headed south, we have another gator location from earlier. Naturally, there are plenty of those around, but this area also tends to have quite a few turkeys, wild hogs, and even quail. Once again, it's worth checking just for the alligators, but you may be surprised with trophies of other kinds for your efforts. Lastly, we're headed to the southeast corner known as the Neptune Hills. This area seems to be loaded with whitetail, black bear, gray fox, turkeys, and even rabbits. It's got a combination of lakes, meadows, and forests, which make for a varied experience in chasing all these species. I actually haven't gotten to spend as much time here yet as I'd like, but having seen tons of tracks and animals, I simply had to include it in my top 5 hotspots. This map has so much variety that it can be really tough to narrow down an ideal time to go for a hunt. Naturally, different species have different zones and times in which they're easiest to find, and targeting them at those times is the way to go. However, for a hunt meant to just kind of head out and chase anything that shows up, I'd probably hunt in the morning, probably starting around 5, as gray fox, black bear, whitetail, turkeys, wild hogs, and rabbits all feed during that window. Gators, as mentioned, are ideally targeted later in the morning, and raccoons can also be found feeding after 10:30 in the morning. They do have an earlier morning feed zone from 3 to 6, but most of that time is in the dark. Quail, of course, can be hunted at basically any time of day, as they need to be flush from the ground regardless in order to get the full score. Much like pheasants, shooting grounded quail will result in no medal being awarded. And on that note, we've run through what is, in my opinion, all of the most important info for you guys to have a successful first hunt out here on Mississippi Acres Preserve. I really hope this guide can help you guys out, and as always, feel free to leave any questions you may have in the comments below. Thank you for watching, best of luck today and going forward on this new map, and I'll see you next time.